Jala Sil tried to pee in me at my husband's party after we announced my pregnancy, but it backfired horribly, and now she's facing jail time while also getting divorced. I, 29F, have been married to my husband, Harry, for the past 7 years. I love everything about our marriage, except for one thing, his sister Kayla, who constantly brings negativity into our lives. Don't get me wrong, I used to like her when I first met her, but over time, my opinion of her has completely changed. She is incredibly negative, manipulative, and toxic. For years, I've worked hard to stay on her good side because I know exactly what kind of person she is. In the past, my husband dated his sister's best friend when he was 17. They later broke up because he felt pressured into the relationship because of Kayla. When he was 23 and single again, his sister pushed him to be with another one of her friends, but he refused. This led to a huge fight, and she went crying to their parents, saying she wanted him to marry someone she felt comfortable with. Thankfully, his parents didn't pay much attention to her demands. When Harry and I met and fell in love, his parents were very supportive, but Kayla consistently treated me coldly whenever I was around. She would constantly bring up Harry's exes for no reason, telling him how well they were doing and suggesting he should reconnect with them. This behavior continued for quite some time. I wasn't the only one who found it strange. Harry did too. He would ask her to stop bringing up his exes, but she would get angry and start taunting me, saying I was jealous and that he shouldn't be with someone so insecure. Whenever his parents invited us for dinner, Kayla would deliberately bring one of Harry's exes along, claiming she had run into them by accident and felt obligated to invite them. She also obsessively checked my Instagram, even though she didn't follow me. Since my account is public, I noticed she was always one of the first to view my stories. If a guy commented on one of my photos, she would immediately complain to her brother, accusing me of posting inappropriate pictures. Harry and I would just laugh at her accusations. When Harry and I decided to move in together, she urged him to break up with me, pointing out supposed flaws and insisting she could find someone much better for him. That comment genuinely hurt, especially since I had always been kind to her. Unfortunately, things got even worse after we got engaged. When we announced our engagement, everyone congratulated us, but Kayla remained silent. Then, to everyone's surprise, she got up and walked out of the party. Later, she called Harry, crying and screaming, saying she didn't appreciate hearing the news along with everyone else. She claimed she deserved to know first because she was the closest person to him. She also sent me a message that was almost borderline threatening, telling me I needed to be a good wife to her brother since she had always been the only woman in his life. The message was so strange that it made me cringe. I didn't even bother replying and left it on read, which I'm sure only made her angrier. After that, she started ignoring me whenever we were in the same place, but strangely, she still involved herself in all the wedding activities. Whether it was dress shopping or my bridal shower, she constantly criticized everything. Even when my future mother-in-law and Harry called her out multiple times, she continued her behavior. One day, while I was discussing centerpieces with my future mother-in-law, Kayla overheard us and immediately started mocking my choices. She said my taste had no class and that this was exactly why she wanted her brother to marry someone better. That was my breaking point. I lost my composure and yelled at her, telling her I couldn't tolerate her constant taunts and criticism any longer. I made it clear that she was no longer invited to our wedding. Kayla stood there in shock, as if she had never expected me to stand up to her. Even my mother-in-law was furious with her and supported my decision. Later, Kayla contacted Harry, complaining that I had embarrassed her and insisting he should control me since I was going to be his wife. Harry firmly told her he supported me, and that if she didn't apologize, she wouldn't be invited to the wedding. Eventually, she sent me what seemed like a heartfelt apology. I saw the message and left it on read. At that point, I was already exhausted with wedding preparations and had no energy left to deal with her drama. In the end, she still came to our wedding because I didn't want her to badmouth us later, so she ended up attending the wedding. Our wedding followed a theme of pink hues and pastels, which everyone had no trouble adhering to, including the guests. However, Kayla showed up wearing a black floor-length gown with a veil, as if she were attending a funeral. We were shocked, to say the least. She went around telling everyone that she was mourning the loss of her brother to another woman. During the reception, my husband noticed how uncomfortable I was with her outfit and confronted her about it. She immediately played the victim, claiming she had the right to wear whatever she wanted and that I was being too controlling. In the end, my mother-in-law and father-in-law asked her to leave when she refused to stop causing a scene. It was humiliating, and from that day on, I kept my distance from her. When I gave birth to my son, Nate, I refused to let her anywhere near him. She did try to argue about it, but my husband and his parents supported me. They understood exactly why I didn't want her around our baby and respected my decision. 2 years ago, Kayla suffered a miscarriage with her then boyfriend Jamie, and it completely broke her. It was a very sad time for everyone. Harry and I felt sorry for her, especially since we already had a child, so after her miscarriage, we decided to be a bit more forgiving. We began inviting her over so she could bond with our son. I have to admit, she was surprisingly sweet with Nate, despite how she treated me. At first, it seemed like she had changed, but over time, she reverted to her old ways. She constantly complained about how difficult her life was and how nothing ever worked out for her, blaming ex-bosses and former friends for her problems. I noticed that, in her mind, she is never wrong. She rarely takes responsibility in conflicts, and is always trying to gain sympathy by playing the victim. Earlier this year, she decided to get married and invited everyone except us. Harry was shocked, especially since things between us had seemed to improve. When we confronted her about it, she said she couldn't invite me because I might try to upstage her wedding. I called her to ask why she would think something like that when I had never done anything to her. Kayla then claimed that she had worn all black to our wedding on purpose, and was now afraid I might do the same to her, which was why she didn't want me there. I was furious at how manipulative she was, and told my husband everything. Harry spoke with his parents, and they decided they would neither pay for her wedding nor attend it. This reduced Kayla to tears, and she began blaming me for the entire situation. My husband told her that she had openly admitted her own wrongdoing, so she had no right to accuse me. However, she justified her actions by saying our wedding had happened a long time ago, and that I should just get over it. Later, since my in-laws still refused to support her wedding financially, she reached out to me, apologizing and asking for forgiveness. I hate to admit it, but Kayla can be very sweet and convincing when she wants something. I eventually forgave her, wanting to move past everything. Her wedding with Jamie went well. We all attended and had a good time. Less than 6 months later, Kayla showed up at our doorstep, complaining that her marriage was falling apart. Harry and I let her stay with us for a few days, during which she spent hours venting about her husband. They were having trouble getting pregnant, and Kayla was clearly placing all the blame on Jamie. I tried to talk to her, but she was convinced it was entirely her husband's fault. When she wasn't complaining about him, she focused intensely on our lives and began making assumptions that weren't true. For example, I usually go to the gym every morning before work. Sometimes, when I'm running late, I take my work clothes with me so I can finish my workout, shower, and get ready there. Kayla noticed this and started asking me many questions, why I needed to shower there and why I even went to the gym. I didn't think much of it and explained that I liked maintaining my weight and didn't want to go to work feeling sweaty. She would just purse her lips and nod. Eventually, things seemed to improve between her and Jamie, and she moved back in with him. One weekend, my husband and I went out for lunch with my in-laws. Kayla and Jamie were also invited. We left our son, Nate, with a babysitter since he usually gets bored when adults talk for long periods and prefers to stay home and play. During lunch, my mother-in-law was talking about a friend of hers who had recently gotten divorced. She explained that her friend's husband had cheated on her, so she left him and took half of his assets. Suddenly, Kayla interrupted her and asked my husband if he and I had signed a prenup before we got married. We both stopped eating and looked at her. She acted as if I wasn't even there and looked at my husband expectantly. My husband is not someone who minces his words, so he told her directly that since both of us earn well, we saw no reason to have a prenup. Kayla snorted and started saying that nowadays there are many cheaters around and that he could be blindsided any day. I took offense to her words and asked her what exactly she was implying. She then claimed that I was definitely meeting someone else since I was always carrying a change of clothes with me, and that as Harry's sister, it was her duty to warn him. I was shocked to hear this. My in-laws immediately stepped in and told her to stop making such accusations and not to interfere in other people's business. Without missing a beat, she said she was only trying to look out for her brother, then went on to joke about whether our son Nate was really Harry's child since he didn't exactly resemble him. I watched my husband's face turn red with anger. I had never seen him this furious before. He looked Kayla straight in the eye and told her that this was exactly why she wasn't a mother yet, that she didn't deserve to be one, and that her child was better off in heaven than with someone like her. Kayla stood there in shock, her mouth hanging open. My in-laws fell silent as my husband continued, calling her shameless for trying to ruin everything because she had nothing good in her own life. He said she was a loser who did nothing all day, while her husband worked hard, and that instead of pointing fingers at me and questioning us about prenups, she should focus on her own marriage because she was clearly projecting. Kayla broke down in tears. She looked at Jamie, who was sitting beside her, expecting support, but he didn't say a word. I had never seen my husband lose control like that before. Eventually, she got up and ran to the restroom. My husband was still fuming. My mother-in-law came over to calm him down while I held his hand. He apologized to me for what his sister had said about me and our son. And I nodded, understanding how frustrating she could be. A part of me was glad he had stood up for me so openly, especially after everything I had endured from Kayla over the years. After he calmed down, he apologized to Jamie, but completely ignored Kayla. After that lunch, we went back to having no contact with her. Her behavior was affecting both of us, so we blocked her everywhere to prevent her from reaching out. My in-laws later spoke to us about what happened and agreed that Kayla had gone too far. They could see how their usually calm son had been pushed to his limit. It has now been a year since we last spoke to her, and everything has been peaceful. 2 months ago, I found out I was pregnant. It was a complete surprise, since we weren't even trying. My husband and I feel incredibly blessed to be welcoming another member into our family. We decided to wait for the right moment to share the news and plan to reveal it on my husband's birthday. My in-laws organized a big celebration for Harry in their backyard, inviting close family and friends. Kayla must have heard about the party and decided to show up. My husband and I were both surprised to see her there. She hugged Harry and told him how much she had missed him and how sorry she was about their last conversation. My husband held my hand and told her she should be apologizing to me since she had questioned my character. Kayla nodded, turned to me and apologized. She said she had been going to therapy for the past few months and had realized how wrong it was to humiliate me like that. I didn't believe a word she said, but I didn't want to create a scene in front of everyone, so I simply nodded. My in-laws later checked in with us and assured us they hadn't known she would be coming, offering to ask her to leave if we were uncomfortable. However, my husband didn't want to cause a scene, so we agreed to let it go. Throughout the party, I noticed Kayla laughing and socializing with everyone. It felt strange. She seemed unusually positive, which was completely unlike her. Still, she had mentioned going to therapy, so I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. When it was time to cut the cake, Harry gave a heartfelt speech about how lucky he felt, expressing gratitude for another year of life, and for having a wife like me. His words made me blush with happiness. I couldn't help but appreciate that my husband and I were still deeply in love, just as we were when we first started dating all those years ago. Then Harry and I decided to share some exciting news with everyone. Smiling, we announced that we were expecting a baby. There was a brief moment of silence as everyone processed it, and then they burst into excitement. My mother started crying and came over to hug me, and my in-laws had tears in their eyes as they congratulated both of us. Everyone was overjoyed and began asking if we had thought of baby names. The only person who stood out was Kayla. She looked stunned at first, and I thought she might just be processing the news, but then her expression changed, and she walked away, looking upset. I felt a bit worried, thinking she might ruin another celebration. But I got distracted, as more people came over to talk to me. When it was time for lunch, I got up to help my in-laws bring out the food, but Harry and my parents insisted I stay seated, telling me I shouldn't lift a finger during this time. I sat patiently, waiting for my husband to bring me a plate, when Kayla approached me, smiling brightly. She was holding a plate of food and handed it to me, loudly announcing that she personally wanted to serve me because she was so happy about my pregnancy. She even added that she wanted to make up for all the times she had been rude to me in the past. I nodded and accepted it politely. She then walked away. Just as I was about to start eating, I noticed that the plate had shrimp on it. It's well known in my family that I am highly allergic to shrimp, so I was shocked that she had served it to me. I shook my head in disappointment and got up to get myself another plate. At that moment, Jamie came over to congratulate me. We spoke briefly, and he asked why I wasn't eating. I explained that Kayla had probably made a mistake and served me shrimp. Jamie told me not to worry and took the plate from my hands, saying he would eat it since he liked shrimp, and I could get a fresh plate. I smiled, nodded, and walked away. Less than 5 minutes later, Jamie started vomiting violently over his plate. Everyone immediately stopped eating and looked at him in alarm as he struggled to stand. Harry and Kayla rushed to his side. Jamie pointed at his plate and then at his throat. Our eyes widened in shock as we realized something was seriously wrong with him because of what he had eaten. Moments later, he collapsed, and everyone gasped in horror. Kayla rushed to check his plate, and her eyes widened. She turned to me and asked if I had given my plate to her husband. In the chaos, I nodded. Someone called an ambulance, and Jamie was rushed to the hospital. Kayla was crying uncontrollably and kept looking at me with anger. Later, we were told that Jamie had been poisoned. I nearly fainted when I heard that, because I knew, unlike everyone else, that the plate had originally been meant for me. Whatever poison was on that plate could have harmed me and my baby. Harry, my in-laws, and my parents still don't know this. The police were called, and they took the food as evidence, since no one knew what had caused him to collapse like that. As I'm writing this, Jamie is still recovering in the hospital, and Kayla stayed with him overnight. My husband and I have been answering calls from relatives, all asking what happened to Jamie and who could have poisoned him. My in-laws are deeply shaken and are staying with us because they're too afraid to return home. No one understands how something like this could have happened when everything had been going so well. I am terrified to tell anyone that the plate was originally meant for me, and that Kayla had personally served it to me, especially if this turns into an investigation. I will have to tell the police the truth. I feel extremely guilty about what happened, but more than anything, I am now terrified of what my sister-in-law is capable of, since she clearly had no hesitation in trying to poison me. I don't want to be around her, and I cannot let my children be anywhere near her. I feel responsible for giving my plate to Jamie and for potentially poisoning him. Update 1. Wow, thank you for the thousands of comments on this post in just a few hours. I never imagined I would receive this many responses. My hands were shaking when I wrote this earlier, and I still haven't been able to sleep. Despite what everyone says, I can't help but feel responsible for what happened to Jamie. I should have just thrown the plate away, but I don't know why I let him take it. I keep crying, thinking that if anything happens to him, it will be my fault. My husband knows something is wrong and has been staying close to me. He thinks I'm just worried, but he has no idea what I know about his sister. I agree with the comments saying I need to sit everyone down and talk calmly. I don't know if they will believe me, but my in-laws do have security cameras installed around their house. Since the birthday party took place in their backyard, I'm sure the footage will confirm that Kayla was the one who gave me that plate. I will talk to everyone tonight and then update again. Update 2. We talked, and I am so grateful to have the best in-laws. Since they are already staying with us, I sat down with them and Harry during dinner and told them I needed to discuss something important. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everything on my shoulders, and explained what happened at the birthday party, how Kayla had served me a plate with shrimp and how Jamie had unknowingly eaten it and ended up poisoned. As I spoke, the shock and disbelief on their faces mirrored my own. My in-laws exchanged concerned glances, while Harry's expression shifted from confusion to anger. I continued, sharing my fears about Kayla's intentions and her past behavior toward me. I admitted that I had hesitated to say anything because I was afraid of the consequences for myself and our unborn child. My mother-in-law immediately suggested checking the security footage, and my father-in-law agreed, recognizing how serious this was. Harry remained quiet, clearly processing everything. When we reviewed the footage from their cameras, the truth was undeniable. It showed Kayla handing me the plate and everything that followed leading up to Jamie's collapse. The evidence left no room for doubt. Emotions ran high as the reality sank in. Harry struggled to control his anger, now fully aware of his sister's intentions. My in-laws were horrified by her actions and couldn't believe how far she had gone. We all sat there in stunned silence, trying to understand why she would do something like this. Afterward, my in-laws decided to give the footage to the police, recognizing how serious the situation was. My father-in-law and husband plan to speak with Jamie once he recovers, since he will need to press charges. I don't know how Jamie will react, and I break down every time I think about how I let him take that plate. I haven't been able to sleep or eat properly because I'm so worried about him. I will update again when something significant happens. Update 3. I'm finally back with another update. I know it has been a month, but I am pregnant and going through a lot right now. First, my in-laws handed over the footage to the police, and after reviewing it, Kayla was arrested. She didn't deny anything and immediately broke down, admitting everything. My husband spoke to Jamie about what happened, and he was just as shocked as the rest of us. My husband encouraged him to press charges, telling him that no matter what he decided, he would always be considered family. In the end, after recovering, Jamie chose to press charges and also filed for divorce. Kayla later called my in-laws, crying and begging for forgiveness. It turns out she is pregnant as well. She begged them to bail her out, trying to convince them to do it for the sake of their grandchild. However, my father-in-law firmly refused, saying they were done enabling her and that she needed to take responsibility for her actions. My mother-in-law is deeply saddened by everything that has happened to her daughter, but she understands that what Kayla did cannot simply be forgiven. The police found evidence that she had tampered with the food with the intention of harming me, which ultimately backfired and ended up hurting her husband. She has been charged with multiple offenses, including food tampering, endangering life, and causing harm. She has been begging Jamie not to press charges, claiming that this was all my fault. But thankfully, he doesn't care and is determined to see her punished. Her court hearing will begin soon, and I don't think she will escape consequences this time. Meanwhile, to everyone asking, my son and I are doing okay. He has no idea what his aunt has done. Harry and I have discussed it, and we do plan to sit down with him and tell him the truth, as we want him to be aware of such situations. I know it will be a difficult but necessary conversation to have with a child. I'm also going for regular ultrasound scans every 2 weeks during my pregnancy, as advised by my doctor. We have decided not to find out the baby's gender, because we want it to be a surprise. My parents are aware of everything that has happened with Kayla, and have become very protective of me. They are concerned about how this might affect my mental well-being during pregnancy, and have encouraged me to go to therapy. I agree with them because, despite trying to act normal, I have developed a deep-rooted fear after what Kayla did to my food. I now feel afraid to eat anything from outside, or anything I haven't prepared myself. My husband understands my fear, and supports me every step of the way, so I hope I can overcome this fear soon. Update 4. It has been 8 months since my last update. Kayla is currently serving time in prison, after being found guilty of the charges. I never attended the court proceedings, but my in-laws did, and they told me that Kayla admitted she had been jealous of me for years because she never wanted an outsider to marry her brother. She had always wanted one of her best friends to marry him, which is why she constantly tried to bully me when we started dating. When we announced my pregnancy at my husband's birthday party, she became jealous because she was planning to announce her own pregnancy as well. After previously suffering a miscarriage, she wanted to share her news, but she felt that we had taken away her moment. According to her, her pregnancy hormones made her so angry that she mixed a small amount of rat poison into my food. She admitted that she only wanted me to end up in the hospital and never intended to physically harm me or the baby. She also said she never expected me to give my plate to her husband, and claimed that I was the one who ended up poisoning him, which she used to argue for a lighter sentence. The judge rejected her plea, and she was sentenced to prison. She will be out of our lives for a long time. Jamie has also finalized his divorce from her, and is now free. We have met him over the months, and continue to include him in our family gatherings whenever possible. He and I have spoken, and I have apologized to him many times for giving him my plate, but he reassured me that it was never my fault. I broke down in tears when he said that, because I had been replaying the incident in my mind, wishing I had done things differently, so he wouldn't have been poisoned. I'm grateful that Jamie is doing well now. As for Harry and me, we have welcomed a baby girl into our family. Despite everything that happened, her presence has brought warmth and light into our lives. Our son Nate is thrilled to be a big brother, and has been showering his little sister with love and affection. Watching our children bond fills our hearts with gratitude. Throughout all of this, my parents and in-laws have stood by us, helping us navigate this new chapter in our lives.